back to the channel. My name's Nicole and this is Darvanalee Designs Studio, and it is our Stitch With Me cut. Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Nicole and today we are here for a Stitch With Me. We are working on Red Dragon, a Heaven and Earth design. So I've not done a Hade before on the Stitch With Me, so I thought I'd do something different. I'm stitching on this one as part of DDs Spooktober for the month of October. So if you haven't joined us yet, by all means, tag me over on Instagram or join our Facebook group, DDs Quilting and Crafting, and then that way you can share everything that you're working on. So as I said, today is our Stitch With Me. I'm going to stitch along with you for a little while. I haven't done a Hade before. I'm working on 28 count 10 stitch, and I'm working with colour 939. And we're also going to talk about some of the books that I have read this week. A bit of a life update, being busy, stitching away, doing a little bit of diamond painting, hanging out with the kids at home, just chilling out. Well, not really hanging out with the kids. They sit in their room and they ignore me. So is that classed as hanging out with the kids? Savannah's got a birthday coming up this week on Wednesday. She turns a big old 17. Yeah, they're back at school, which is great. Also, they're going back to school tomorrow, which is good, and I can finally get some stuff done. So as I said, we're working on Red Dragon. That's what it's going to look like when it's finished. This is where I'm up to, and I'm just going to be working up here and working with the one colour today. Not very exciting, I know, but we have several books to talk about today. So let's get into that. All right, so books. This week I have read 3 audiobooks and 1 physical book. I'm going to start with the best book of the week, which for me was a self-help book. As some of you may know, I've read The 5-Second Rule a couple of times, okay, by Mel Robbins, and she has just dropped another book called The High Five Habit. So that basically what that is just basically a self-care book, remembering to take care of yourself and all that sort of stuff. So I basically struggle with that sort of stuff. I feel I get racked with guilt if I put myself first, and I know I'm speaking here on behalf of women, but I'm sure men also feel these emotions as well. But for today, I'm just going to say us as women and all the rest of it. So please excuse me if there are any men that watch my Stitch With Me. I do apologise, but I'm just generalising as a woman. So basically, yeah, I got into, I pre-ordered this book because I knew it was dropping. And basically I wanted to read it because I really thoroughly enjoy her books. I follow her on social media and all that sort of stuff. And quite frankly, this year, after the hellish year that I've had and all the rest of it, I'm so looking forward to putting it behind me and just getting on with it and stop feeling guilt, stop feeling all the things that are making me feel bad about myself, and just basically tearing myself down on a regular basis. Now, what a lot of you probably don't know is I actually have a very poor self-esteem. I struggle with my self-worth, and that all stems from when I was younger and all the rest of it. So I decided that when I turned 50 that I was going to try and put a lot of this behind me, that my family had taken enough from my life and enough joy and all the rest of it. And without going into too much detail, I've been sort of in the last 2 years, and for those that don't know, I'm 51. I just turned 51. So for the last 12 months, I have been trying to implement more things, and we've had external things happen with Mia and all that sort of stuff, and quite life-altering things happen and all that sort of stuff. So I've been actively trying to read more self-help books. Now, let's face it, I don't earn a ton of money. I can't afford to go to therapy. I'm lucky enough that my best friend is a counsellor and stuff like that, and she's counselled me through some stuff, and and I've got wonderful friends that have been sounding boards for me, and sometimes I'm sure they sit there and they roll their eyes and go, oh my god, here we go again, and for that I thank you and apologise at the same time, although I'm trying not to apologise as much as I have in the past. So basically I've made a concerted effort to read a lot more self-help books and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, this dropped the other day. I think it dropped on Wednesday, and I got to it later in the week. And basically, I had pre-ordered it. I just got it on audiobook because I didn't want to get it on Kindle or from Amazon or anywhere like that. I basically support Mel Robbins through audiobooks, and most self-help books I do listen through audiobooks because anytime I need to listen to them, they're there. I can just whack them on in the car. I can whack them on while I'm doing the dishes. Anytime I need to pick me up and all the rest of it. So there's been a couple of highlights this year that I've read in the past 12 months. And we've just ticked over into October. So it's a little over a month since my 51st birthday. I've read The Year of Yes, which we've talked about. That's by Shonda Rhimes, the lady that is the creator behind Grey's Anatomy. A Year of Yes, that has helped me to get my marriage out of a rut and a funk and bring it back on track. And the 5-second rule, so counting backwards from five seconds, and now we've got the high five habit. So basically the premise behind the book is giving ourselves a high five, as the title says, the high five habit. So every morning, instead of waking up and going, ugh, as she puts it in the book, and didn't start tearing ourselves down and all the rest of it, we stop, we take a second, we give ourselves a high five, we move forward. And I'm very much summarizing the book here. I suggest that everybody should read this, male or female, and basically really take on some of the stuff. So some of the things I already do, so like waking up in the morning, as soon as I get out of bed, I make my bed. So I've got no matter how bad the rest of the house is, I've always got a nice room to walk into. So I try to keep my room very clean. And that has only just been a new thing this year in the past 12 months as well. Making sure that everything is put away at the end of the day. So I wake up in a clean room, I go to bed in a clean room. You'll be surprised how much of a difference that makes. So if nothing else in your life, start in your bedroom. I know that one of my friends, Shell Trails, can attest to it. We were on FaceTime when I was cleaning my room, and oh my God, it was a mess, wasn't it, Michelle? So basically I sorted that out. I organised my drawers, I organised my wardrobe, I cleared the floor, I vacuumed, I got rid of all the stuff that was in my room and cluttering it. So got rid of the clutter. I mean, it wasn't filthy, it was just untidy. So she says, make your bed, and, when you're in the bathroom, instead of looking for all the flaws and all that sort of stuff, find the positives, treat yourself to some exercise, or just going for a walk, or, taking the time in the morning. Don't pick up your phone as soon as you get out of bed, which, I have a bad habit of doing that. The alarm goes off. My alarm is my phone. I'm wanting to change that. I'm actually today moving my phone out of the bedroom and putting it on charge out in the sewing room. So for me, I'm going back to my old digital clock, and that's going to be my alarm. I'm going to wake up to music in the morning and all the rest of it. So that is one thing on my to-do list today, to do that. Get it out of the bedroom so I don't roll over and then waste an hour or 2 hours, or, doing whatever and starting the day under the pump and all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of stuff covered in this book, a lot of tools and everything covered in this book. I recommend that everybody read it. I've given it a 5-star rating. I think there's a lot of stuff that is going to feel a little bit weird at first, doing it, like giving yourself a high five in the mirror, but actually giving yourself a high five, actually touching that mirror, instead of, giving yourself a high five, which, as she says, is just an awkward clap. Basically, that is sort of where I wanted to I want to get back to. I want to do some self-care. I want to be a better person, which in turn is going to make me a better wife, better mother, better friend, and all that sort of stuff. And some of you that have been following for a while have known that I've been trying to make a concerted effort to check in with my friends and just, be present and all the rest of it, because I can and am quite comfortable getting into my own world and just staying there. And sometimes I don't realise that can make people feel incredibly bad and incredibly isolated, because they feel like they've done something wrong. And I didn't put 2 and 2 together, and while reading this book, that's when I sort of put it together, that's how I'm making the way I feel when something doesn't go right, that I'm no good, excuse me, that I'm no what is it? What do they call it? Imposter syndrome, like that sort of thing, that I'm no good, I shouldn't be doing this, I don't have a right to do this, and all that sort of stuff. And then, stemming from that I'm not good enough, I don't feel good enough, I've angered that person, or I've done something to upset them, and all that sort of stuff. And the penny dropped with me yesterday. I call it an epiphany, if you will, that I am making people feel that way. The way I feel when something's done to me, I'm also making other people, possibly, I don't know for sure, possibly making people feel that way. So, I'm trying to, and I've sort of had that inkling there for a little while, and I've been trying to check in more and all the rest of it. So the self-help books have been, and people go, oh, self-help books, Look, you know what, you can read 3,000 self-help books and you might only take 3 things away from it. But then there's that one book, that you read, and everything, just like little dominoes, little pieces of the puzzle, whatever you want to call it, all fall into place. For me, Mel Robbins has been that. Now, she's on social media, she's on Instagram, she's on YouTube, she has snippets, she has, motivational things and all the rest of it. She is a motivational speaker, and I think we all need that cheerleader in our life. And for me, Mel Robbins is that person. Does she know it? No, because I don't publicly broadcast it. But, her books have helped me, and I'm guessing that if you're going through any sort of problems, whether it be relationship, personal, friendships, mother-daughter, mother-son, just mother-kids, you're having issues and all the rest of it, some of the books that I've read this year will really, really help you. And as I said, this is up there with the top 3 in my self-help books. I've read, different books throughout time and all the rest of it. But these 3 have been my standout this year so far. And I've got several other ones that I want to read before the end of the year. But these 3 have definitely, I definitely had the 5-second rule, and I definitely had A Year of Yes. A Year of Yes actually saved my marriage. I can honestly say that it saved my marriage, and it has also given me a better relationship with my girls. I've already had a really good relationship with my girls. We have our moments like all girls do. We're catty by nature, and all the rest of it. But I can honestly say it did save my marriage, because my husband was feeling like I didn't want to do anything with him. He wasn't seeing the fact that I was incredibly busy. So, with everything that was going on, and that it wasn't just him putting demands on me. And, for all his, he gets worked up in his own world and all that sort of stuff, and that's fine. He's earning the money. He's keeping the roof over the head. I had to give a little, and that was doing the Year of Yes. So, but, I will probably do a yearly wrap-up, and I will talk about these 3 books again as time goes on, but they are definitely my top 3. If you haven't read the 5-second rule and you struggle with productivity, read that book. That, for me, it gave me productivity. And if you're struggling with self-doubt and all the rest of it, read this book, The High Five Habit. And I can assure you, I will probably read this a couple more times before the end of the month or the year. Probably at least another time, once more during October. I sort of want to read it again or listen to it again. I do have a long drive coming up in the next couple of weeks, so I'll probably listen, and then that's at the end of the month, so I'll probably finish out the month with it again. But this book made me cry. It brought up emotions that I didn't even know were there. So kudos to Mel Robbins for getting me to be teary and all the rest of it. But yeah, be warned, if you've got some issues, underlying issues, and they come to the surface, that you will get teary. And like, even just sitting here now thinking about it, I feel a little bit teary. So read the book. She reads it to you, and it's like having her sitting in the room with you. You will thoroughly enjoy it. You will not put it down. As you know, I listen to my books on a little bit faster than most people, and I knocked it over in a little under 5 hours. you know, I took some notes and I made some points and I paused and all the rest of it and wrote things down, and I've got things that I need to do and things that I need to implement, and she's got a challenge going and all that sort of stuff. But I really do, I can't recommend it enough. So now that I've probably boosted Mel Robbins' sales, we'll move on to the next book. The next book that I read, as you all know, I am reading the Virgin River series. I am up to book 8, polished that off, finished that off yesterday. This book actually, you could probably read this on its own, really. There was the usual characters that came into it, but it wasn't really focusing on those characters. They were sideline. They were sort of side characters in this book. So the main characters in this one was Preacher Noah and Ali, which when I read so basically, I'll back up a little bit. So basically what I do is I listen to the audiobooks, because there's 19 in the series. I'm not buying the 19 books. I'm just listening to the audiobooks. And so basically, which number 19 hasn't been published yet. I think that comes out at the end of the year or early next year. So basically, after I've read the book, I'll go and read the blurb about the book and see what and then look at some reviews and stuff like that. Unless, of course, I can't find it. And the reason I read this later in the week and not earlier in the week is because it actually wasn't released on Audible until I think the 29th it came out. So I sort of listened to this over the weekend. And basically, when I was listening to it, I thought that the character was Ellie. But when I read the blurb, it's Ali. It's just the way that they pronounce it. So either way, Ali or Ellie, whatever. I'm like, yeah, I was definitely hearing Ellie. So if you do listen to it, let me know what you hear, because yeah, I was definitely hearing Ellie. Anyway, it's following, it starts off with, the last book ended with Hope, the character that's selling off, that got Mel to Virgin River and yada yada. She was selling off the local church. Well, Noah is not in Virgin River. He's not from there, but he found it on eBay because that's where she was auctioning off. And basically, he decided to buy it. He went to Virgin River, seen it, bought it, put it to the Presbyterian church. They said they couldn't afford it, so he put his own money forward. He's a young, handsome preacher. And for those that don't know a lot about preachers and all the rest of it, they still marry, have children, and have, in the Presbyterian church, they don't take a vow of celibacy or anything like that, like the Catholic Church or anything. So anyway, and Ellie, I'm going to call it Ellie, she has a couple of kids. She's, had a really rough life and all that sort of stuff. She's definitely the underdog of the story. But she has an incredible positive outlook on life. And that's all down to her grandmother. The story pretty much comes with Noah coming into it, and then Ali looking for a job. She goes to him and gets a decent job, as she calls it, because and this is a bit of a spoiler, she was a stripper, and basically had lost her kids to her ex-husband, so she needed to, and there was a 90-day court order. So that's sort of where the story picks up and starts off, and it just goes through their journey together, and then basically, it was a really good story. Like, it was great to see that the author had brought in, not just a preacher, and then he, works with a prim and proper, that there was a little bit of seediness brought into it. There was a few people that came into it and stuff like that. It was really, even though it's fiction and all the rest of it, it must have just been, I don't know, the week for it or something. I was just, there was the feeling of undertones of abandonment, hardship, all that sort of stuff on her side, and acceptance, and her not having a very high opinion of herself. And even though she was incredibly positive, there was still that undertone of not wanting to burden anybody or anything like that, wanting to do it all on her own. She was a real tough little cookie. And I mean, it is a romance, so obviously, you know, there's a romance in the background as well. But there was also the acceptance that she received and the support that she got. And because she was on her own, she'd lost her grandmother and all that sort of stuff. And so there was all that underlying stuff as well. And just the struggle that she had to, you know, to get her kids back and all that sort of stuff and whatnot. But really, really good book. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Knocked it over in a pretty much in a day. Like, I listened to a couple of hours on Saturday and then a couple of hours yesterday. Really didn't want to turn it off. Just wanted to keep listening. It was a really, I found it a lot juicier than the other books, I guess. So yeah, I really got into this one. I really thoroughly, it's probably my favourite so far. And I think that is because I could relate to so many of the underlying storylines. So yeah, that, and I mean, it was just crazy. It was the emotions that I was feeling. And I don't know whether that was because they had been brought to the service because of the high five habit or what, but I really got into this one and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like, I've enjoyed all the books. I find myself giggling at different things when the other characters come into it and things that the author writes and stuff like that. It's a very enjoyable, light-hearted series, but there are some, you know, some heavy issues that are, you know, the loss of kids, you know, wartime injuries and all that sort of stuff, you know, moving to a new town, not knowing anybody. I can definitely relate to that. I have been to so many different new schools and stuff like that growing up. I was always the the new kid, you know, never quite fitting in, always just on the outskirts and all that sort of stuff. And just, yeah, so some of these stories that are happening throughout the Virgin River series have been absolutely awesome. Like, they're just, you can really relate to them and all the rest of it. So if you haven't read it, I have been listing all the books down, the physical books down below. As I said, I am listening to these on Audible, mainly because I don't have a bookshop where I live. I've got 2 hours to drive to a bookshop. If I had access to a bookshop, would I have probably bought them for my bookshop? Yes. Will I probably buy them in the future? Maybe. I'll let you know at the end of the series, because there's nothing nicer than seeing a complete series on a bookshelf. So yeah, so that was Virgin River. Book 8, I have G'd up book 9 on my TBR, which is to be read list for October. So I'm actually going to probably get through 3 in October, 3 more. So we're right at the beginning. What is it, the 4th already? Jeez. So yeah, so that was that book. Really enjoyed it. If you haven't started reading the Virgin River series, read it. They're light-hearted books, and I sort of call them books that you're reading when you're not really reading a book, because there's no real heavy plot line or anything like that. All right, so the next series that I started reading was the Jessica Hunt series. So that is by, I'm just referring to my notes. I read book 2, and it's called The Perfect Block, and it is by Blake Pierce. 215 pages in this one. The Virgin River one has, how many pages that's got? 371 in the Virgin River, and that was published in 2009, Romance Small Town Rural. All right, so The Perfect Block is the Jessica Hunt series that I stumbled across on Kindle the other day. So I have been listening to this and also reading this as a Kindle. It was published in December 2018. And basically it picks up where we finished off with the first book, where there's still some things going on in the background. So without giving it away too much, spoilers and all the rest of it, in the first book, Jessica with her husband moved to our towns. Some stuff went down, twists and plots, off they went. She's left her husband, so that's a bit of a spoiler, and she's back in downtown LA. So The Perfect Block has 215 pages. The genre is mystery, thriller, suspense. As I said, we are back in downtown LA, and it was published in 2018 in December. So, okay, so she's about 29 years old. All the hoo-ha down in Orange County that happened in the first book is all starting to sort of come to an end. She has now graduated, and she is now able to work as a criminal profiler. So basically, she's been invited by the FBI to go to that, but she still has to get more training, more intense training in her chosen profession. Not many new graduates get chosen to go to the FBI, so she's still deciding about that. So while she's deciding about that, the police officer, Detective Hernandez, from the last story, calls her up and says, hey, there's a junior, one of the criminal profilers super busy on a high-profile case. We need a junior profiler. Do you want to come in? The chief of the LAPD is a little bit reluctant to put her on. Regardless, she gets put on. She's doing, run-of-the-mill sort of stuff, but then a case comes across her table. We're still delving into her background and stuff like that, so there's still a lot of character building and the whys and the whos and all that sort of stuff, and different characters are coming in. There is a very, very dark undertone in the background and about her mother, her father, and all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of interesting character building happening at the moment. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. They're very, very much what I call like a short story. I guess they probably have a genre of their own, maybe novella. I don't know. I struggle with how they call everything. A book is a book to me. It's either a long story or a short story or a medium. Like 500 pages is, to me, is sort of a medium size. Anything above 500 to 600 is medium. Anything under 400 sort of is a short story to me. It's still like it's a novel or whatever, but that's just my categorization. I'm sure that there is the professionals out there that have their opinions on that, and that's fine. I just do me and you do you. So anyway, yeah, so this has only got 215 pages. So for me, it is just a short story. I knocked this over in a couple of hours. If I had this as a physical book, I'd probably read it in an afternoon. Maybe 2 afternoons if I wasn't really in the mood for reading. Definitely knock it over in a day if I wasn't in a mood for reading. But, yeah. So anyway, as I said, she's doing the run-of-the-mill type things for LAPD, and she comes across this case, and they're trying to work it out. They can't quite work out what's going on, and yeah, it wasn't who I expected it to be, but yeah, there was a few twists and turns and all the rest of it. There is a little bit of, without giving too much away, I found just one thing slightly annoying about it. Not super annoying, just slightly, just a little tidbit, that Jessica seems to be a bit of a victim. That's all I'm going to say. So anyway, but she seems to be finding her feet and all the rest of it in her chosen career. She's getting answers. She's starting to... There's one of the characters from the first book that she was going to see at the hospital and all the rest of it. He's in the book again, and there's some twists and turns with that as well, which I think you will be very excited about. If you haven't read it, you can find it on Kindle, is where I found it, and it is also on Audible as well. And I just buy the Kindle with the audio narration, so I get it for, I think it was like $7 I got it for, but Chrissy sent me a message and said that she found the first book for free. So Chrissy, if you are watching this morning, as you have been for the last couple of weeks, hey girl, how are ya? Can you just leave where you found it? You won't be able to put the website because YouTube will just not let your comment go up, and then I can't find it in my back end. So so if you can just put like where you found it, and then just leave a space and put .com or whatever, just put spaces between the web address, it'll let it go up then that way. Yeah, so hey Chrissy. And yeah, so she found it for free, so lucky her. Score for you. I wish I find my books for free. No, I don't always. Sometimes I do. I found quite a few in Audible now that have been included, so my Audible list has gone through the roof. I have such a long, lengthy, a lot of series and stuff like that. I'm still waiting for the October free audiobook to drop, and I think that usually happens around the 10th. So I still have the September one, which was a memoir, and I haven't read that yet. I don't know. Memoirs are a genre that is very much new to me, so I think I might actually wait it out, because I've got a bingo game happening, reading bingo happening over in the Facebook group, DDs Quilting and Crafting group. I put up the reading challenge there. So for the next 12 weeks, once a week, I roll the dice, and we've got 12 prompts, and I'll just grab my notes so I can flick through them. Okay, so we've got, there is a file over in the group where you can print that off and you can mark it off, or you can draw your own up. But I put this in my reading journal, and because I'm doing a couple of challenges this year. One is the 100 books in 2021. Along with that challenge, I'm doing the A to Z. So some of my books have been chosen because of the A to Z. And for the last quarter of the year, I'm doing the 12-week bingo reading challenge. So each week what happens is, in the group, I roll the dice, excuse me, and then whatever that number is, that's the prompt we have. So we've got 12 prompts, and these are in numerical order. So we have the first one that got rolled. It happened to be number 1, and that is read a book that became a movie. So this morning I actually started The Shining, because that was my selection, and I put the prompt up in the group, and then everybody's putting their books that they're reading. So I think there's some that are reading Harry Potter. There was one, I think Chrissy's reading The Colour Purple. Someone else was reading Shadow and Bone. Technically, that's not a movie; it is a series. But I'm going to let that slide, because that's the book that they wanted to read. So that, you know, like, I'm not a hard ass here, people. So anyway, the prompts that we have. So in numerical order, number 1 was read a book that became a movie. Number 2 is read a non-fiction book. Number 3 is read a classic book. So that's anything from the classics. So for me, that'll be the third roll. I'm reading classic horror for the October. So whatever book I'm up to, that's what I want to select. That's what I'll read. The next prompt, number 4, is read a book with a blue cover. Finish a book in a day is number 5. Number 6 is read a book that was published in 2020. Number 7 is an author that has your initials, which I still have to find. Number 8 is read from the New York Times bestseller list. I read a book from that. Number 9 is read a book published in the year that you were born. I started looking for that yesterday, so I've got to do some research for that one. And that's why I've given some of the prompts as well, so you've got time to find them. Number 10 is read a book from a new genre to you. So for me, that's going to be a memoir. So I might just save that memoir that I've got there for free until then. So, yeah, so basically, and then it's read a Agatha Christie book, and then the last one is read a short story. So I'm looking forward to doing all these prompts, and hopefully we can... sorry about that, my computer was just going low. Yeah, so basically get some reading done, because there's a few people in the group that have had surgery and stuff like that. So I thought it would be a great way. It ties in with my channel, because I'm doing the reviews and all the rest of it. But in the files, you will find the file there, so you can print it off and you can mark it off as you go. Alternatively, you can just, each week pop your post underneath, and then that way you can see what's going on and follow along and see what other people are reading, and you might get some book ideas and all the rest of it. All right, so that was, yeah, so I finished the Perfect Block. The next book that I read, which was a physical book. So what have I read so far? I thought I read 4 books this week. Did I? Perfect Block. High Five Habit, that's 3. Yes, so I did read 4. Sorry, one of the pages were back into my other areas. All right, so As I said, The Perfect Block, that I'll be reading another 3 from that this month as well. Time given, I don't know whether I'll get 3 done, but they are on my TBR, which, for those that don't know what that is to be read. Sorry about this. I just had a few things all scattered a little bit further away from me, so I just had to grab them. So that's why I sounded a little bit weird then. So basically, yeah, I'm looking forward to the character building and all the rest of it in that particular book. But the next book that I read, this was a physical book. I got this last week from Big W. It was there. I think I seen it on BookTube somewhere. Yes, that is a thing. BookTube is a thing. I don't know if you type in BookTube what will come up, but I follow a couple of bookish people, and all their channel is about books and stuff like that. So, Girl on a Train, I think I seen it on a recommended, I can't remember when, maybe last year. I don't know, but it's been on my list for a while. Anyway, it's obviously starting to, I know where I seen it. It was on the Dimmicks Top 100. That's right. Because I purchased a book from Dimmicks a couple of months ago, The Name of the Wind, I think it's called. And it had a sticker on the front, the Top 100, and I went and had a look, and it was on there. So there's been a few books that I've had on my TBR for this year that were on the Top 100 from 2020. And the 2021 list as well. There was a couple on that as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's on next year's list. So anyway, if you want to work out what that is, just type into Google the Top 100, Dimmicks Top 100, and it'll bring it up for you. So a couple of the books that I've got coming up were off last year's and this year's list, and not every book on there I'm interested in. So this one was on there though. It's called Girl on a Train. It's by Paula Hawkins, and I believe she used to be a journalist, and then she became a writer. So this book has 408 pages, not a very long book. I can honestly say this book was a page turner. I did not want to put this book down. I was struggling to get things done. This book actually travelled with, most times with my physical books, I read them in the morning and in the evening. So I might wake up in the morning, go for a walk or not go for a walk, and I then will come back, read, or I'll just start reading, and I'll read, 50 pages, sometimes 100 pages on the weekend or whatever, and then I'll get up and go on with my day. This book, I did not do that. The first day that I picked it up, which was on the 28th of September, I pretty much read in the first sitting 100 pages and was reading it pretty quick. It's a mystery thriller. It's set in England, London, around that area. It was published in 2015, so it's not a new book. It's been around for some time. I basically polished this off in 2.5 days. And as I said, only in the mornings and the evenings I was reading it. So, and that was 2.5 days. Because I finished it off yesterday. And I basically woke up and started reading and finished it. And I think I was finished it by 10 o'clock in the morning. So, it basically it's obviously a girl on a train. Okay, so it starts with the story of this girl on a train. She goes past these houses. It slows down at these houses. And this is very, very summarized, because I cannot really talk a lot about this book without giving too much away. So I'm going to be very cautious with my wording and how I'm talking and all the rest of it. So basically, it follows a girl named Rachel. I can give you that much. She's on a train, and she is commuting every day on the same train into her work. And she goes, and the train stops in the same place. Now, anybody that's commuted on trains know that sometimes there's a red signal and you slow down and all the rest of it, and you find yourself looking out the window. I mean, we've all done it. I used to commute on trains all the time, and I find myself doing it. And so I look out the window and have a sticky beak. I don't necessarily go to the lengths that this girl's gone to. So basically, she sees some townhouses and stuff like that near this stop, and the train's full of all sorts of people, and they're all just busy doing their thing on their tablets, phones, whatever, reading the newspaper. And she looks out the window and she sees this this couple, and she imagines all these things about them and stuff like that. And yeah, so the book is set out sort of like it's dated, so it is actually referring backwards and forwards. There's Rachel, the characters are Rachel, Megan, and Anna, Tom and Scott, and it focuses around them. And there's some underlying characters as well in the background that are thrown in there for good measure. And just to give it a well-rounded, like so you 1 minute you're reading about Rachel, then you'll be reading about Megan, and then, or Megan, however you want to pronounce it, and then it goes backwards and forwards, and it's got the dates and all the rest of it. Is it set out like a diary? Not necessarily. It's just that date and how what happened on that day. It's not Rachel writing a diary as such, but it's sort of set out the similar fashion, if that makes any sense at all. Probably not at all. Anyway, so basically she's made up this story about this couple, yada, 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 and then she sees something in the backyard that just changes the trajectory of the story. And so I found that I could not put this book down. If you have not read it, you will enjoy it if you're into mystery, thrillers, suspense. I found if I was watching a movie, I probably would have been sitting on the edge of my seat trying to work it out. At one point, I thought I worked it out, and then it was like, oh, you so did not work that out. So, and I actually I actually was reading, and then I put the book down, and I'm just like, I did not see that. I did not see that coming. So, I found it to be an absolutely amazing book. It was quick to read. I know that if you're into that sort of stuff, you're gonna absolutely love it. I had to go to the hospital this week for some tests and all the rest of it. I don't know the results yet. I will keep you posted before everybody goes, oh, are you okay? It was just a run-of-the-mill test and all the rest of it, but I had to go to the hospital for it, and I was at the hospital waiting to go in, and basically the lady came in and seen that I was reading the book, and she basically goes, oh, there's a movie for that as well. So now I'm going to go and see. She goes, the movie's not as good as the book. I mean, the movie's never as good as the book. Unless, of course, the author has had everything to do with that script. Like Stephen King movies come to mind, because he is so, I believe that he is so engrossed in the process of putting the movies together that he doesn't back down. So that's what I hear. That's conversations I've had with other people before and all the rest of it. So basically, and there's, a few other people that are like that as well, that they are involved in the script writing, because, getting a novel to a movie is a whole different beast altogether. Not that I'm an expert, but I can imagine it would be a whole different beast altogether. And, there's some things that, in a movie that, like in a book, will take 4 pages to describe the scene, whereas in a movie it's just there. Do you know what I mean? So they don't have to go to that length and all the rest of it. So, so she said that the movie's not as good, but she said you'll thoroughly, because I'd read 100 pages the day before when I started, or the night before. So I took it with me to the hospital and I was reading it there. I didn't get much reading done there. I think I got 20 pages or something. But so she said that it's a really good book, you'll thoroughly enjoy it, and that. And I'm like, well, don't tell me about it, go away. Because I just had the feeling that she was going to spoil it for me. So, but she didn't. She ended up going away. But it had some twists and turns in it. As I said, like at one stage I put the book down and I'm like, I did not see that coming. Didn't see it at all. I will say that Rachel has trouble remembering stuff because she's a drunk. That basically some things have happened in her past that have led her to become essentially she's an alcoholic. And so she struggles with that demon and all the rest of it. So it's from her point of view and the struggles and all the rest of it that she has. And it follows her story very closely, and so it's just Oh, mate, if you read it, tell me what you thought. I really enjoyed it. Like, it's probably, I don't read a lot of mystery thrillers. It is, I do read them, but over my life I haven't read a lot of them. But the ones that I have read have been page turners, and this is definitely in that category. It is page turner. If I didn't have a family, I probably would have read it in one day, because I wouldn't have got up to do anything. I would have just stayed in bed and read all day. But if you've got a family, you've got to get up and you've got to tend to them and all the rest of it. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. If you've read it, let me know in the comments below what you thought of it. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend you go and get it on Kindle or on the audiobook. As I said, I found this at Big W the other day, and the only reason I grabbed it is because it was on the Dymocks Top 100 list. But that is the books that I have read this week. Now, I do have some plans. As I said, we have the bingo going over in the group. We've clicked over into October and it's Halloween, so I am reading the classic horror books is what I'm reading. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about my TBR. I have started this morning. A great way to start the morning is The Shining. So that is quite interesting to start the morning off. I have written down all the books that I wanted to do. Now, if you're looking for classic horror and you don't know what classic horror is or what books fall into that category, just do a Google search like I did and it'll bring up the top, I think it's the top 50 or maybe the top 100, I don't know. No, I think it was the top 50. So basically, and I've just gone through that list, and some of these were also on BookTube as well over the last couple of years. So my TBR has the usual suspects in it for October, so I want to try to achieve reading Virgin River 8, which I did. I started that because that didn't drop until the end of last week on Audible, and I couldn't find it on Scribe either, so I've read that already, so I can cross that off. I also want to do 9, 10, and 11, so one a week for the next 4 weeks. I also want to have the Jessica Hunt series, so 3, 4, and 5 for the next month as well. And then the next classic that I want to read is Emma. So they are ones that are continuing on from my other TBRs. So Emma by Jane Austen, for those that don't know the Emma book. So they aren't horror ones, but I do have several, what have I got, 5, 6 that I wanted to put on my TBR. And I'm hoping that I'm going to get them read because these are all going to be on audiobook except for Dorian Gray. I think we have a copy of that here, and we don't have any Stephen King, and I think we may have Haunting of Hill House as well. I'll have to check on Savannah's bookshelf because she's nicked most of my books. Yeah, my books have over the years slowly got leaner and leaner, and I'm thinking, where are all these books have gone? Some I've discarded and got rid of, and moved on to new homes and all the rest of it because they don't need to be on my bookshelf anymore. But for the most part, she's pilfered most of my classics. The Shining, I actually gave away because she wanted to read it when she was 8, and I'm like, no. So I got it out of the house because I knew she'd sneak it and read it. So anyway, not that it's a bad book, but still for an 8-year-old, it's pretty hectic. Anyway, so basically being the month of October, my main, as I said, the Virgin River, the Jessica and the Emma, they were on there because they come over from the last one's continuing series. But I wanted to include some horror classics. So I did a Google search. I came up with, I think it was the top 50 from memory. I did this a couple of weeks ago. So the books that have made it on to my list for October all will be audiobook except for The Picture of Dorian Gray. It may end up being an audiobook depending on my time. We have The Shining, which I started today, and that also corresponds with my first prompt in the bingo. Then we have, that's by Stephen King, and we have Carrie by Stephen King. Carrie is the first horror movie that I watched, so I wanted to, have I read the book? I can't remember I read the book when I was younger as well. I actually read the book before my mum had the book, and then we got the movie, and my mum hates horror movies, but she watched that movie with me. So I think I was 12 11, 12 when I can't remember now. I was only young. It was in the 80s when I seen it. I'm pretty sure I was 11 or 12 when I first seen Carrie. I love horror movies. My husband does not, so I've gone for the next best option and reading them. I haven't watched a horror movie in quite some time. There's been some that I've watched when he hasn't been home and he was away and stuff like that, when he was working away. But for the last 5 years, I haven't watched any horror movies because he pretty much controls the TV and I don't get a say. So The Ring is on there by Koji Suzuki. So yeah, I'm going to read that. I've never read that book, but it was on the classic. So, and I've not seen the movie either, but I know of the storyline behind it. The Haunting of Hill House, I'm also going to be reading that. That is by Shirley Jackson. The Woman in Black by Suzanne Hill. Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. And NOS 4A2 by Joe Hill. Now, I have no idea what that book is about. I didn't read the blurb. I basically ran the mouse, and where the mouse stopped, because you can get your screen to scroll really fast, that was the book that I was going to put onto my list. So that is just a random book that was on that list, and that's where I ended up with that one. So I don't know anything about that book. I didn't read the blurb, nothing. I just put it on my list. So it's a what do you call it? A wild card. It's a wild card book. So yeah, so basically they are the books that I'm going to be looking at this month, and I thought it was very suitable to have horror for the theme for October, being Halloween and all. As I said, most of them are going to be in audiobook because I don't have them on my bookshelf. I won't be able to get them. I mean, I'd have to go for a drive for a couple of hours to get them because, and then, a lot of these books are old, so they're not necessarily going to be in the bookshops. They're sort of an eBay purchase and all the rest of it. I will be, now that Savannah is a bit older, I will be able to get some of my Stephen King's and back again and all the rest of it. I did have nearly his whole collection of books up until 1995. But then I had, we went through a mouse plague and basically a lot of them got damaged, and then there was some water damage and stuff like that. So I moved them on, and I've always wanted to and a lot of them were in hardcover as well. Because I used to be, was it in a book club called Double Day, was it? I used to be in a book club with them. So basically I would get the books when they came out, new releases and stuff like that. So basically I now need to replace them, so I will probably go on the hunt. Am I going to replace them with new books? No, I think I'm going to make it like the thrill of the hunt and basically look for them online and stuff like that. I did a bit of a search the other day for The Shining, and a lot of those books are like $20 and they're secondhand. So once this whole COVID business is out of the way and things are back to normal, I'm going to start hitting a lot of the what do they call them, book fairs and stuff like that. Like they have a big one down in Brisbane where they're at the convention centre, and I'll be able to get a lot of books there. I used to do that a lot, and then I'd read them and then move them back onto and then send them off to charity and stuff like that. So I'm going to have a look around some of the charity shops. I figured that, Savannah and I like doing the hit and op shops and all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to have a list of books that I want to get from my bookshelf, and and then that way I can have a lot of stuff back on my shelves again. Because as I said, I did lose a lot of books from wet weather, and when we moved out here to Kingaroy, our stuff was in storage, so we got a lot of water damage, and then we had a mouse plague where we lived out there, and so a lot of stuff got damaged. And if anybody's ever been through a mouse plague, the smell is horrendous, and if they get into your books, which they were in storage and they got into my books, they were just disgusting. So they had to, a lot of them went to the dump. The ones that could be saved were, I hit them with Glen 20, dried them out as best as I could, and sent them off to charity for people. But yeah, I got rid of a lot of them. So my bookshelf isn't what it used to be, and I'd like to get that back to it. But I think I'm going to make it like the thrill of the hunt and not buy the new books and go and try and find them in op shops and stuff like that, because we have a lot of op shops here in town. We've got 4, and then on the way down to Brisbane, a couple of ways we go, there's a few there, and then down on the Gold Coast there is a book exchange down there at Nobby's Beach, and that is my favourite book exchange. I have been going to that book exchange since the late 90s. And it's still there. It's still in the same quaint little place. It's like built up around it and all the rest of it. It's still this dingy little shop, and they still have all their stuff, and they get a lot of specials out the front. So I'm not doing much moving around at the moment because of COVID and stuff like that. I'm definitely not going down near the Gold Coast or Brisbane at the moment. I sort of just stick close to home. If I do go to Brisbane, I tend not to get out of the truck. It's just in the truck to get out for a day. But for the most part, I haven't really gone down to the Gold Coast, but I'm keen to get back down there again. I have a list of books that I want to find, and I'm pretty sure that I will find them in that book exchange and also in op shops and stuff like that. So, but that is all the books that I'm going to be reading in October, all the books that I've read for the last week. And I'm pretty happy with the amount of reading that I'm getting in. I'm actually thoroughly enjoying it. And I hope that you are enjoying these little quasi reviews that I do and just the books that I'm talking about. And as you can tell, I'm very passionate about reading. I love reading, and I think everybody should do it. And I have missed it so much over the last few years. And all the rest of it. So I'm so glad that I've decided to embrace the audiobook and the Kindle book and get back into it, because I am getting so much work done. I'm getting a lot of things in the studio sorted out. I just put a book in my ear and off I go, and I'm just getting lots and lots of stuff done. So it is actually helping me with my productivity and all that sort of stuff. So as I said, I hope that you're enjoying them. I'm going to keep doing them for the foreseeable future. Don't forget to leave me comments down below with what you're reading and all that sort of stuff. And if you've got any recommendations as well that you think that I will enjoy, by all means put them down the bottom as well. If you find any free books, I'm always up for a free book. Put them down below as well. I'd love to see what they are. I mean, am I going to read everyone? Probably not, but you know, it's always nice to have a look and see what they're about, and sometimes they end up on my master list of things that I want to read. I am doing a little bit of planning with my bookshelves and stuff like that, and a rearranging of the house. I've got this little alcove that is near Mia's old room, or near Mia's room. It's not her old room, it's still her room, that I want to put my bookshelves in. I want to get a couple more bookshelves in there and put them in there and just turn that into a little library and all the rest of it. All right, well, thank you so much for joining me today. I do hope that you enjoyed being here with the Stitch with me. I've got a few more stitches into Red Dragon, starting to look really good. I'm almost to a page finish. So hopefully next time you see this, I'll actually have a page finish. So as I said, thanks so much for joining me today. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up down below. Leave a comment down in the comments. Tell me what you're working on as well. And as always, as you can see, the tip jar is rolling across the screen right now, so maybe drop us a tip in the tip jar. And until next time, stay safe everybody, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye for now.